Welcome back to Cthulhu. I hope everybody's been having an amazing week so far, and if you haven't, then hopefully this podcast can serve as a little escape. I am your host, Manasvi, and for the past few episodes, we have been talking about the Korean drama Flower of Evil. For a refresher, I'm going to do a very quick recap, but I highly recommend watching the first 3 parts because I'll be skipping over quite a few details in this. So, our story is about a married couple, where one of them is not who he says he is. We have Chae-Won and Baek Hee-sung, a couple who has been married for about 5 years, but has been dating and have known each other for a lot longer than that. And to the outside world, they appear to be very much still in love. But the problem is that Hee-sung is not really Hee-sung. He's actually Toyeon-soo, the son of a serial killer, Min-suk. One day, Min-suk committed suicide, and his kids, Hyun-soo and Hae-soo, were left to fend for themselves. The world found out about the serial killings, and the life for these siblings was never the same again. Hyun-soo, who was already suffering from antisocial personality disorder, started getting bullied by Moo-jin, one of his high school friends, as well as his sister's ex-boyfriend. And the people of their village started performing exorcisms on him, and eventually it just became too much for Hae-soo to bear. She tried to ask the village head to stop the exorcisms, but things escalated and she ended up stabbing him with a pair of garden shears. Hyun-soo, who had found Hae-soo covered in blood, decided to take the blame for the incident because in his mind, his life was already lost. It was over with, but Hae-soo still had a fighting chance of getting herself a good life. He planted evidence that made it seem like he was the one who committed the murder, while Hae-soo burned down their house to get rid of all of the evidence. Since that day, Hyun-soo has been on the run. He had a brief job as a waiter at a Chinese restaurant, but that ended when his co-worker tried to kill him and steal his money. And while running away from his imminent death, he ended up getting hit by a car. And then he wakes up in the house of an older couple who are clearly very rich, and they give Hyun-soo an offer. They won't hand him over to the police if he pretends to be their son. Their biological son recently fell into a coma after hitting Hyun-soo with his car for reasons that we have not yet quite found out about. And that is how Hyun-soo finds himself living as Hee-sung. Everything goes great for a few years. He got married to Chae-Won, who is a police detective, and they have a really cute daughter, Euna, together. Recently, though, a series of events have led to Min-suk and Hyun-soo's name being dragged back into the spotlight. The husband of Min-suk's last victim kidnapped Hyun-soo for a couple of reasons. The first being that his wife's body was never found. So when the police were investigating all of the serial killings that Min-suk had committed, and they were digging up the victim's body one by one, Mi-suk, his last victim, her body was never found. And because of that, her husband, Kyung-chun, never got to hold a burial for her. So he spent the last 18 years looking for his wife's body. Eventually, word reached his ear that Hyun-soo was involved in the killings with his father. He was the accomplice. Because of this, he took Hyun-soo, and during the kidnapping, we get a few key details about the case. The first is that there was an accomplice. The accomplice just wasn't Hyun-soo. Hyun-soo was not the person who was helping his father with these killings. And the second is that there was a witness, somebody who had seen Mi-suk after she had gotten kidnapped, but the kidnapper had played it off as though he was Mi-suk's significant other and that Mi-suk was drunk, so nothing truly came out of it. And the third detail is that Hyun-soo's sister, Hae-soo, might have actually seen the accomplice at her father's funeral. While all this is becoming clearer to Hyun-soo, Chae-Won has realized that her husband is Hyun-soo and is determined to prove that he lived the way he lived, as in like he stole someone's identity, because he had no way to prove that he was truly innocent. We've left off with Chae-Won going to tell Hyun-soo that he too might have seen the accomplice, and the real Baek Hee-sung waking up from his 14-year coma after his mom tried to pull the plug on his life support. We are going back in time again, this time to a point after their marriage. Hyun-soo had decorated their new house beautifully with lights all over the place, and he's leading Chae-Won through their front door with his hands over her eyes. And she's got this pregnancy bump, so it looks like she's pretty far along in her pregnancy. He leads her into their living room and then drops his hands. Chae-Won opens her eyes and is pleasantly shocked. It's beautiful. This is amazing. When did you manage to do all of this? She looks down at her belly and says, "You love it too, right?" Oh my god, it's kicking, feel it for yourself. She takes Hyunsu's hand and places it on her belly, and Hyunsu stands there for a couple seconds, and then his eyes go incredibly wild, like very childlike, and he's shocked at what he felt, and Chae-Won jokes, "You always get shocked like that." It's weird to think that there's a living being growing inside of you. Yeah, well, I'm actually not quite used to it myself. Why don't you say something to our baby? Something to celebrate our move here. Hyunsu awkwardly gets down onto his knees and clears his throat. And when Chae-Won laughs, he looks up at her and says, "It's time for our baby to develop her hearing, so I want to be careful." We've moved into a new house. I hung yellow wallpapers in your room. I hope you like it. They then go to eat, and Chae-Won is once again amazed because her husband knows exactly what she wants when she wants it. He had made her exactly what she was craving for dinner. But there's this nagging feeling that starts to grow in the back of her mind, so she tells him, "I feel like I'm always the one who's receiving stuff from you. Is there anything you want from me?" He thinks about it for a few seconds and then says, yes, there is in fact something he wants from her. In the present day, Hyunsu is in front of Chae-Won, who is standing in front of Moojin's apartment. "Chae-Won, what brings you here? What are you doing here?" "Oh, well, I was helping Mr. Kim with something. He wanted to know about what kind of metal craftsman Min-seok was." "Mr. Kim, what's the matter with you? Why were you trying to hide that you were with my husband? He would have told me about it anyway." And Hyunsu decides to throw Moojin under the bus. He's like, "Mr. Kim, was this supposed to be a secret meeting? I really had absolutely no idea." Chae-Won asks if she can go inside, and without waiting for an answer, she makes her way in. And there stands a woman who looks familiar. And at first I thought maybe Chae-Won was joking, like there's no way she doesn't remember her, but I guess there was a lot just going on in her life because she doesn't recognize Hae-soo until Hae-soo straight up says, "You came to see me once to talk about Park Hyung-chun's case?" "Hae-soo, you seem so different. I almost didn't recognize you. That day you were pretty cold to me. You really didn't cooperate either." "Oh, that's because, I'm sorry." No, there's no need to apologize. "Mr. Kim, your next article must be regarding something super big. You're getting help not only from my husband, but also from Hae-soo." Hae-soo tries to explain the whole situation even more. "Today's my first time meeting Mr. Beck. Oh, and Mr. Kim and I already know each other. We've been friends ever since we were young. I thought I could help him find the accomplice." Chae-Won smiles at the explanation before clarifying, "I'm not here to investigate, Hae-soo. You don't have to explain anything to me." She then starts looking around and the glass doors catch her attention. This is where they had started writing all of the things regarding the case on it. And they had written the word trap on there when Hyunsu had mentioned about how his father probably put out a trap for Mi-seok. Hyunsu pushes Moojin to go get Chae-Won something sweet to drink, and then he comes back when she points at the word trap written on the door. "What does that mean?" Hyunsu approaches her, and instead of answering the question, he asks, "Am I getting in the way of your investigation by helping Mr. Kim?" "Oh, no, he's just doing his job. Why don't we help each other out, though? You were also trying to find the accomplice anyway." Moojin tries to get out of it by saying, "I don't think I'd be of any help to you." "No, Mr. Kim, I think you would. This right here, what do you mean by trap?" "Oh, it's nothing." But Chae-Won is staring at him without blinking, so Moojin, who gets nervous, continues. "Well, apparently Min-seok liked setting traps, so I heard that he might have also set a trap when he kidnapped the victims. It was Hae-soo's idea." And at this point, Hyunsu decides to jump in. "Mr. Kim, do you remember what you asked me earlier? You should also ask my wife, about the voice recording." Meanwhile, back at Hyunsu's fake parents' house, the dad is going through some preliminary checks for his son. The mom is standing there holding this medical tray, but her hands are shaking so much and she looks absolutely terrified, and she's about to bawl any minute now. Can you imagine trying to pull the plug on your child only for him to come out of a coma, and he probably knows what you did? She turns paler and paler, but the dad turns to her and then nods as if to say that their son is fine. Then, in a really raspy voice with one single tear rolling down his face, he calls for his mom. He's still struggling to get words out really fast, and it takes a minute because, he's been in a coma for 14 years. And he calls out to her saying, Mom, it wasn't your fault." The mom starts bawling while caressing Hee-sung's face. "I'm sorry, Hee-sung. I'm so sorry." Hee-sung lifts his hand, and his hand is literally shaking as he's lifting it because of the amount of effort he needs to use to do such a simple action, and he wipes the tears out of his mom's face. Mom, don't cry. That person, what happened to him? That guy who was hit by my car? And both the mom and the dad looked shocked that he remembers this whole thing after 14 years. But I don't know why they're so shocked, right? Like the last thing he remembers is probably what happened right before he went to a coma. Back at Moojin's apartment, Moojin plays the recording for Chae-Won, and he points out that banging sound that was in the background. Did you hear that? That strange sound in the background. Chae-Won puts her drink down on the coffee table and sits on the sofa next to Hae-soo. There was no regular pattern, so I don't think it was one of a machine. Then what do you think it could be? I don't know. How would I know that? Yeah, you're right. If you were able to figure that out, then that would mean that you were the accomplice. I don't know, but there's an agency that analyzes audio files for the police. It's something that we need to do anyway. I'll ask if they can analyze that sound for us. Moojin is celebrating when Hae-soo gets up. Well, I think I'll be going now. Good luck on everything, Mr. Kim. And she steps away, but stops when Chae-Won questions, do you want the accomplice to be caught? Of course, doesn't everyone? But it may be Hyunsoo. No, I know for a fact it's not Hyunsoo. And how are you so sure about this? Because the Hyunsoo that I know would never do that. You know, Hae-soo, I feel like the Hyunsoo that you know is very different from the Hyunsoo that I know. I met a therapist who treated him when he was a child. She said, whereas he lacked the ability to feel emotions, his ability to relate to others was excellent. And thus, she was positive that once he became an adult, he'd be skilled at manipulating others for his benefit. I watched those videos from his session, and he said himself that although he wanted to kill somebody, it would have been a pain to get rid of the body, so he killed his dog instead. And Hae-soo defends her brother. He didn't do it. Hyunsoo didn't do it. Then who did? It's obvious who would have done that. Do Min-suk? Why would Hyunsoo say he did something when his father was the one who actually did it? And by this point, Hae-soo's getting more and more worked up. She looks at Hyunsoo, who is also in the room, saying, I'd also like to ask him why he did that as well. How could he do that? Just what was he thinking when he did that? Why did he take the blame? And Hyunsoo feels like his sister is about to tell his wife everything, so he starts poking Moojin to do something, but Moojin just ignores him. And Chae-Won looks at Hae-soo straight in the eye and says, Hae-soo, is there something you want to tell me? Yes, actually, I want you to know what I did, and not Hyunsoo. The truth is, the kakaguri, but she doesn't get to finish because Hyunsoo had pushed aside the coffee cup that Chae-Won had set down on the table earlier, and now there's coffee all over Moojin's precious laptop. Moojin kicks Hyunsoo and Chae-Won out of his house using this as an excuse. Hyunsoo goes to get the car, and Chae-Won silently gets it. Hyunsoo reaches over her, takes her seatbelt, and clicks it into place. And when Chae-Won doesn't do or say anything afterwards, he smiles a little smile and says, I'm sorry. For what? For not telling you that I was helping Mr. Kim? You don't need to share everything just because you're married. It's okay, I don't tell you everything either, Hee-sung. He sits there looking at his wife because once again, this isn't like the Chae-Won that he knows. He only moves when she tells him that she's been out for too long. Moojin, on the other hand, decides to walk Hae-soo out. They're waiting for the elevator and Moojin asks her, were you really going to try to tell Detective Cha everything? Moojin, I want to try being hypnotized. I definitely saw the accomplice and I want to try to remember using hypnosis. I want to help Hyunsoo in any way possible. What if Hyunsoo doesn't need your help anymore? What will you do then? Want to hang out with me like back then? Hae-soo looks at him. If Hyunsoo doesn't need me anymore, I'll do what I need to do. Something I should have done but didn't. And then the elevator opens and she leaves Moojin standing there. The car ride for Chae-Won and Hyunsoo is silent once again, and it feels like they're having less and less to talk about these days. But that's when Chae-Won remembers that the real reason she went to Moojin in the first place was to tell Hyunsoo this, and she starts dropping some hints. Say that you were Min-suk. How would you give the car key to your accomplice? I've been having this thought. Hyunsoo was used to establish Min-suk's alibi, but there was someone else who used Min-suk's car to abduct the victims. He must have handed the car key off to the accomplice in person, right? That was our conclusion back at the station, at least. According to Hyun-soo's handwritten statement, Min-seok went to several places where he would have met countless people. Min-seok and Hyun-soo parked in the motel garage, and at 3:40 p.m. they arrived at the gallery and then went to an unknown artist's exhibition. At 7 p.m. they had dinner at a popular family restaurant. While Ji-won is narrating this, Hyun-soo is thinking back to that day. He had gone to a restaurant where his father had asked him what he wanted. Then around 8:30 they went to a bar and they both had a drink, and of course his dad had alcohol while Hyun-soo was drinking some juice or something out of a straw. They then watched a movie from 12:45 a.m. to 3:10 a.m. They left the theater then to go home, which means that they left the theater after the time of the incident, and that gave Min-seok the chance to make contact with his accomplice from the gallery to the movie theater. While remembering all this, Hyun-soo slowly falls into a daze while he's driving, and that is not a good thing to do. You should never take your attention off the road because he doesn't notice the red light, and Ji-won has to yell to snap him out, and he slams on the brakes, causing Ji-won to hold on to her seatbelt. Hyun-soo looks at Ji-won. "I'm so sorry, are you okay?" Ji-won nods, and that's when Hyun-soo notices. "Hey, where's your ring?" "In the office. I took it off in the bathroom to wash my hands and forgot to put it back on." "You've never done that before. You said that it felt uncomfortable and weird if you took it off." "I did, but I got used to it quickly once I took it off." The traffic light had turned green, so he continues to drive while talking about tonight. "You didn't forget about dinner tonight, did you? We said that we'd have a party." Lena is very excited. "Please don't be late." Ji-won nods, and the car ride goes back to being silent. In Hyun-soo's fake parents' house, the maid is congratulating the mom in the kitchen while the dad is taking blood samples of his son. When he's done drawing blood, he holds down a piece of cotton to absorb the leftover whatever is coming out, and he says, "You don't have to worry about the accident. I took care of everything." And again, in a raspy voice, he then asks, "That day, why didn't you answer the phone that day? I called you multiple times." "I was busy," he sung. "Was it more important than your own son?" "There's nothing that's more important to me than you." "Will I be able to walk again?" "That won't be all. You'll be able to get the job you want, marry a decent woman, become a father to a lovely girl, and get your happily ever after. That life can be yours too." I don't know how he's planning on integrating Hee-sung back into society, but it's not going to be that simple for him, I can tell. Anyway, it's now nighttime, and after a long, hard day of work, Ji-won is slowly walking back home when Euna screams at her from their second-floor patio. Mom, hurry up!" She looks up, and there stands Euna and Hyun-soo waving at her with the biggest smiles on their faces. She makes her way upstairs where Hyun-soo has decorated their patio, and he starts prepping the most delicious looking food for them. And all the while, Chae-Won is looking from the decorations to the beer to Euna, who is smiling at her dad, and finally to Hyun-soo, who's showing off his tongs to Euna to make her laugh in the middle of cooking, and a smile makes its way onto Chae-Won's face and only disappears when Hyun-soo places the plate of food down in front of her. Hyun-soo notices a smile that has slipped on her face. "Does this not please you anymore, Chae-Won? You used to be more excited about this kind of stuff." Chae-Won puts on another smile and says, No, this is great. I am more than thrilled. But I suddenly realized how much work you had to do. How is it work when it's something I enjoy?" He starts peeling shrimp for Euna, and Chae-Won says, "It must have not been easy, only to show me what I wanted to see. I'm grateful, that's all." Hyun-soo tells her that there's absolutely no need to thank him before going back to feeding Euna. And Chae-Won is thinking back to the words he told Hee-soo when her phone rings. It's her phone audio file hacker friend person. He had managed to remove the static and amplify the sound in the background. And a couple seconds later, the recording ends up in Chae-Won's email. And of course, Hyun-soo is curious. Is that the voice recording that Mr. Kim asked you to look into? Did he figure out what made that sound? No, he said that it was impossible, but once he removed the static, he was able to hear another man's voice. She plays it for him at the dinner table, and at first it's hard to make out what this man is actually saying, but after racking his brains for a little bit, Hyun-soo hears it. Ashtray. The man is saying ashtray. And then it hits him. That night that he was with his dad, they had gone to a bar before they went to the movie theater. The bartender had offered his dad an ashtray before turning to carve ice. He had an ice pick that he was using to shave off bits and pieces of this larger, ice mound. And the sound of those two things colliding sounded a lot like the tapping that he couldn't quite place his finger on in the recording. He remembers sitting there watching the bartender shave the ice while sipping on his juice when somebody knocked his father's coat off of the back of their seats. The man had this big floppy hat that was covering his face, but he bent down to pick up the coat and handed it back to his father. But when he was handing it back to his dad and his dad was taking the coat, both of their hands were covered by the coat. So there was probably some sort of exchange happening while that piece of cloth was covering their hands. He breaks out of his recalling when Chae-Won calls out to him, "Honey, why are you up from your seat?" He had stood up without even realizing it. He goes to sit back down and says that it's nothing and goes back to feeding Euna. But Chae-Won knows that he now knows something. After dinner, the two of them are washing dishes, and I'm guessing Euna is probably asleep at this point, and Hyunsoo decides that it's time for them to talk. "You've been forcing your laughs these days. Talk to me. What's going on?" "It's nothing." "Then why are you like this?" "I must not feel the same way after being with you for 14 years now. My feelings can't just stay the same for all time, can they?" "How can you suddenly change though?" "Then what about you? Do you feel the same way about me like you did all those years ago?" "Yes, I do, Chae-Won. This is all because of work. You're way too stressed out. You're always in danger and you never get enough sleep, and there's been no progress with this new case that you're investigating. These days, I keep imagining, Hee-sung, how I'd live if we break up. Don't talk as if you know everything about me. I'm the one who knows me best, not you. Was there a reason behind why I started to like you? No, there wasn't. So there isn't a reason as to why I've fallen out of love all of a sudden. I don't like you. I don't like you anymore. I don't like anything about you. I even hate seeing you try so hard to please me. I guess that I hate you now that I don't love you anymore." "You say that you hate me, but why are you crying?" "Because I hate the fact that I can't find any other way to explain this. I don't understand, Chae-Won. I don't understand you right now. I'm going to break up with you. I don't like seeing you sleep next to me, and I even hate seeing you eat. Chae-Won, what do I need to do? Tell me. If you tell me, I'll fix it all. I'll do everything I can. Don't do anything. That's what I want." She goes inside their bedroom, stacks up all of the files that she has on the Yeonju serial murder case, and is about to leave when Hyunsoo blocks her exit. "I need to read this. Let's talk about us later." "What could be more important than us right now, Chae-Won? Do you want to know what I do as soon as I get to work? I see all the victims that were murdered by Min-suk, and do you know how I feel every time I see them? I feel guilty." "Why? You did nothing wrong." "Because I know nothing. I need to know what happened, but I know nothing. I don't even know how Min-suk searched for his victims, and this might be the last chance for them. They're all counting on me, but I know nothing." "Chae-Won, this is just work. You don't need to empathize so much with the victims." "You know, I finally understand now how I managed to endure all of those horrible cases. It was you. You helped me forget. I was able to forget about it all when I was with you, but not anymore." And she walks out. A couple hours later, at the crack of dawn, Hyunsoo goes to the only person he can think of, Moojin, and he tells him everything. And Moojin's reaction is, "What, she's fallen out of love with you? I think I misheard. Did you seriously just tell me that she's fallen out of love with you? You woke me up this early to ask about your relationship." "I'm serious, Moojin. I feel way more lost than I've ever felt before. I feel more lost than I did when I came down the mountain after getting stabbed by Sung-gil." And then Moojin's doorbell rings. Moojin shoots Hyunsoo a dirty look because he didn't get time to get ready before the love of his life, Hae-soo, had shown up. So he quickly tucks in his shirt to his pajama bottoms. I don't think it makes him look any more flattering, but whatever. He does that and he opens the door. But despite all of his efforts to look slightly more flattering for Hae-soo, she doesn't even give him one look. Instead, she's hyper-focused on her brother. "Where's Hyunsoo? What's the matter? What's the emergency?" Hyunsoo debriefs his sister, and her reaction as well is, "I see. You have a relationship problem. That's bad. You guys don't understand. Chae-Won is having a hard time. What do I need to do to make her happy?" And our Mr. I haven't dated since my first love back in high school, Moojin, says, "It's pretty obvious. I love you like crazy. I can't live without you. Buy her gifts and flowers and light some candles for her. You need to overwhelm her with affection and totally bewitch her. And then she'll get confused and she'll ask, honey, what is this? And then you say, this is love. And after some time, she'll ask you the same question again. And then you say, you have menopause. Everybody lives like that. Sorry, don't actually do that to your partner. Do not love bomb them when you're having communication issues. Just talk about it. Do not shove all of this love in their face all of a sudden and then take it back when everything seems all right and normal again. Anyway, that is what Moojin's advice is. Please don't follow it. Hyunsoo, in the meanwhile, his wheels start turning at this advice and then a little light bulb lights up. I know, the best gift I can get for Chae-Won right now is the accomplice. If I can catch her the accomplice, then I bet she'll feel really happy. I can already see it. And Moojin is speechless. Who solves their relationship problems by catching a serial killer? But Haesoo looks at him and says, Chae-Won must be very precious to you, Hyunsoo. Yes, she is very important to me. No, she's precious. The stuff that you think are important end up becoming less important as time goes by. But when something is precious to you, it hurts you as time goes by. I'm not sure if I totally agree with that sentiment, but I think it is true. When something is important to you, in the future it may become less of a priority. But when something is precious, it will always remain a priority for you. But of course, this hint that he might actually love Chae-Won flies completely over his head. He's already hyper-fixated on getting Chae-Won back. He gets up, surprising the other two, and he starts walking out. I should go now. Where are you going? I think I know where the accomplice made the phone call. I found out what that sound was. What? Really? Why are you telling us that now? Where? How did you find out? What was that sound? I'll tell you when I come back. He then turns to Haesoo and warns her not to spend too much time with Moojin before walking out. And Moojin side-eyes Haesoo. What's your schedule looking like today? I mean, I'm not gonna ask you out on a date or anything like that, but we can still eat something nice, right? Just like in the old days. Or we could even have a drink together. Moojin, can you take me home? And the man starts blushing. Downstairs, Hyunsoo gets into his car and is about to turn on the engine, but instead decides to pick up his phone. He opens up his messaging app and he starts typing out a message for Chae-Won. She's saved on his phone as Chae-Won-y, and the message reads, "Did you eat something?" And he sends it. And on the screen, you can see that he's been sending her like a lot of these types of messages these days. Are you feeling okay? You left this morning without eating anything. Is there anything you want? Should we exercise together? He scrolls up a little bit and you can immediately recognize that it's usually the other way around. Chae-Won is usually the one who's texting him first about the randomest stuff. We don't have a rice cooker at home, do we? What can we make with that? Why haven't you gotten pork belly yet? Go get it now. Honey, how much do you like me? Honey, the sky was really pretty today. And he doesn't like it. He doesn't like that their relationship has changed so much in the past few days. But Chae-Won's sole focus is on catching the accomplice. In the police station, she's showing the call records of Mi-seok to the rest of the team. She wants to set a trap. These are the witnesses Cho Mi-seok spoke to during the 3 days that she left home. She called them to look for a job, and the fact that she left home probably came out in one of these processes. Let's throw out a bait to figure out which one of them threw out the bait for Mi-seok. What bait do we have to use? Me. I'll become Cho Mi-seok. Woo-chul is concerned because most sting operations have some legality issues attached to them, but Chae-Won tells him that it won't be a problem if the person is still actively committing crimes. Detective Choi backs up Chae-Won's decision and they decide to start calling all of the numbers on the list. Moojin and Haesoo, meanwhile, reach Haesoo's rooftop apartment and Moojin is confused. Are you moving? It's so empty. No, Moojin, this is just how I live. Ah, you're a minimalist. You did seem very sophisticated. Isn't it kind of dark? Should I turn on the light? He flips the light switch on, but no light comes out. You need to replace your light bulb, Haesoo. I don't turn on my lights very much. I didn't even know it was out. Moojin, I have insomnia. I can't sleep well, and at times I cry all night like a crazy person. Sometimes I don't step out of my house for several days. Moojin, I'm not the same Haesoo from before. I'm broken. We can't go back to the old times. You can go now. Moojin silently turns around and leaves her alone. Hyunsoo, in the meantime, has made his way to the bar that his father took him to 18 plus years ago. He walks in and there's only one bartender who is drying a glass, so he sits down in front of him with a small smile. This place really hasn't changed all that much. I guess that you've been here before? Yes, I came with my father when I was young. It looks like it hasn't changed since then, actually. What would you like? Whatever you recommend. On the rocks, please. The bartender nods, puts some whiskey in a glass with some ice in it, and he pushes it towards Hyunsu. Hyunsu picks up the glass and looks at the ice. When I came with my father, you chiseled the ice yourself. Oh, your father must have been a very special client then. We only provide ice carvings for clients like that, like a regular patron of sorts. Then the person I'm looking for must also be a special client. Hyunsu plays the recording of the accomplice for the bartender, and the bartender freezes up. Hyunsu asks him if he can tell him who this is, but the bartender tries to, play it cool. No, not at all. Would you give me a call if you remember? Yeah, I can do that. And the bartender hands Hyunsu a pen so that he can leave his number behind. But the pen is one that Hyunsu recognizes, a pen that he had helped his father pick out when he was younger. Min-seok one day had asked Hyunsu to pick out a pen for a friend that he wanted to thank because he always gave him nice raw materials that were too risky for Min-seok to obtain himself. This man was basically helping Min-seok to abduct and murder these women. And when younger Hyunsu had asked his dad what kind of raw materials, his dad turned to him and said, I wonder what kind of face you'll make if I do show you. I'm curious, but I'll show you when the look in your eyes and your hands are more ripe. Take a quick breather because the man is a full-blown psychopath. Anyway, back at the police station, Chae-Won is making her way through the call records, and she's calling each and every single person. She'd tell them that she's looking for a job to see if anyone would offer anything. And Detective Chae and Woo-chul are also hooked up to the same phone, listening in on the conversation, and Ho-jun is standing off to the side watching the three of them. They're almost done with the list when they see a woman's name on the list. Ho-jun wants to skip this one because the accomplice is very clearly male, but Detective Chae says that his wife has a very manly name, so it's better to be safe than sorry. Chae-Won dials the number, and after 2 rings, a woman's voice comes through. Hello? I called about a job? I see you saw our flyer. I'm afraid that I have really bad credit though. Is that so? There's no need to worry, it won't be much of an issue. But what will be an issue is that the bartender refuses to acknowledge that he is somebody who knows the accomplice. That voice, do you really not know it? What about Min-seok? Don't you know about him? I don't. Hyunsu jumps out of his seat and then he jumps over the bar separator. I don't know what it's called, but it's the thing that separates like the people who are asking for drinks from the bartenders. And Hyunsu points out the pen to the man. You have one of Min-seok's art pieces, but he's somebody that you don't know. But you categorized him as a special client. Shouldn't you know him? I don't know anything. Then tell me who does. Who are you? Do you really sell liquor here? The bartender grabs his ice shaving knife thing and he takes a swing at Hyunsu. But Hyunsu manages to dodge the attack and then he pins down the bartender onto the counter and he forces the man's hand onto the counter. And Hyunsu slams the pen point side onto the person's hand. The bartender screams, but then realizes that he can still move his hand and there's no pain really. Hyunsu had stabbed the table with the pen, and that too with incredible accuracy because the pen was between the bartender's middle and ring finger. Hyunsu then grabs the man's head and the bartender starts questioning. Why are you doing this to me? I don't know anything. Then tell me who can resolve this situation. Meanwhile, Chae-Won is still on the phone with the lady who's offering her the job, and the lady asks, where are you right now? At a motel near Yongsan Station? Which one exactly? Just a second. And Detective Chae, who is to Chae-Won's right, starts writing something down on a piece of paper, and he pushes it towards Chae-Won. Happy World. The motel's name is Happy World. I'll come to you soon, but it'll take me an hour or 2. Consider it an interview and a chance for me to hear your life story. I'll call you back at this number. They hang up and Ho-jun is 100% sure that this person is suspicious, and Woo-chul agrees. Her tone got higher when you told her about your difficulties. Why is it a woman though? The accomplice is a man. There may be another person who lured the victims. But Ho-jun is once again feeling weird about this whole situation. and that someone just fell into our trap? Don't you think that we lucked out a little bit? I don't know, I have a bad feeling, that's all. The detectives head out to Happy World to set up their little sting operation, and in the shady part of town, in that employment office that In-soo was in earlier filling out his resume, the lady is busy bragging. Another person just got caught in the net, and the boss, Sang-chul, has a bad feeling about this one. You scored just recently. It's a bit too soon for another one. The media has been reporting about reopening Min-suk's case every day. We could get caught, you know. Unbelievable. Don't be such a scaredy cat and just hand me what I earned. And Sang-chul hands her a stack of cash, and the woman looks disappointed. Is this it? It hasn't been sold yet. I'll get you more once it does. The woman rolls her eyes and she walks out, and almost as soon as she leaves, Sang-chul's phone rings. What? Mr. Yeom, some crazy guy is here making a mess of things, and before he can finish that sentence, Hyun-soo grabs the phone. Is it you? Are you Min-suk's accomplice? And who may you be? In Hyun-soo's parents' house in the meantime, the real Paeki-sung is using all of the strength in his body to get off the hospital bed. He manages to lift one leg off the bed with his arms, and then he puts it on the ground. And then he lifts the second leg and puts it on the ground. And then he tries to get off the bed, but he collapses onto the ground because his knees give out. And he really doesn't have enough strength at all in any parts of his body. He doesn't have to stay on the ground for very long though, because his mom was entering the room with a wheelchair when she sees her son on the ground. She rushes towards him, picks him up, but Hee-sung is more concerned about something else. Mom, there's someone I need to meet. I remember now. I was on my way to meet that person. I need to get going, Mom. Please help me get up. Help me get on my feet. Help me, please. And he seems to really need to meet this person because he starts crying while asking his mom for help. Hee-sung's father, meanwhile, is in his office once again going through the contacts on the flip phone. Hyun-soo and the bartender make their way to the employment agency, and he enters the same moment that Chae-Won is opening the door to her motel room to the lady that had been offering her the job. Meanwhile, Hae-soo is outside of her room staring at the lights of the city underneath when she hears a voice from behind her. I didn't realize that day, but it sure is high up here. Don't just stand there and get the door. Let's get that light fixed. And Woo-jin has come back with all the things that he needs to make Hae-soo's room look more lively. Hyun-soo finds himself in front of Sang-chul, who asks Hyun-soo, "You're Min-suk's son? How am I supposed to believe that?" "How do you think I found the bar?" "It's because my dad took me there." Then there's a drink that Min-suk always ordered at that bar. Do you know what it is? My dad never ordered anything. He only said that he called in advance. And that's all Sang-chul needs to confirm his identity. They sit down across from each other and Hyun-soo gets down to business. "Now tell me about you. How is it that you know my dad's accomplice?" You just crossed the line with that question. I hear that you're wanted for a homicide case. I watch the news too, you know. Then if you watch the news, you should know very well why I'm after this guy. He put me into trouble, so I should repay him for that. Do you know what kind of guy he is? You're far too fearless. Tell him exactly what you just told me. Tell him that he was fearless to have messed with me. Look at this guy. My gosh, I'm caught in the middle of two extremely crazy punks. How exhausting. You talk as if you're not crazy yourself. Me? I'm just a businessman. I buy, sell, and make profit. It's simple. So tell me, what exactly do you buy and sell? Anything? Everything. And on the other side of town, Chae-Won is going through an interview of her own. The woman is asking about her family. You lost touch with your family ever since you ran away from home in middle school? They probably don't even care if I'm dead or alive. Can I really make a lot of money? The job will earn you a fortune, even if you have a bad credit. And having a bad credit means that you probably won't even get taxed, so that's all you really need to know for now. Is it illegal stuff? It's nothing dangerous. You just need to go somewhere and deliver something. Outside the motel, Woo-chul is listening in on the conversation in their room, and Detective Choi joins him after making sure that the people are guarding Chae-Won. So there's two people out in the entrance of the motel, and Ho-jun is standing right outside Chae-Won's door just to make sure that nothing crazy goes down. The conversation between Chae-Won and the woman continues, and Chae-Won asks, I need to deliver something. What exactly is it? You'll know once you give it a try. By the way, I got you a job, so you need to pay me a commission. How much? How much do you have right now? Chae-Won pulls out a wad of these assorted bills and pushes it towards the woman, who smiles looking at the extra cash. I'll help you get rich in no time, so think of this kind of as an investment instead of a waste. Ma'am, how much do you know about the law? Why, do you need to ask me something about it? No person shall intervene in the employment of another person for making profit or gain benefit as an intermediary, unless prescribed by any act. You just violated the Labor Standards and the Employment Security Act. Why don't we go to the police station and talk even more specifically about that illegal item? Who are you? Me? I'm Jon-Gi. Chae-Won handcuffs her and goes up to open the door for the rest of her teammates, and they all go back into the bedroom so they can drag the woman to the police station, but she's not there. In the few seconds that Chae-Won was gone, the woman managed to open the patio door and make her way to the patio of the people next door. Detective Chae pokes his head out of the window patio door thing and tries to convince her to come back inside while motioning for Ho-jun to go to the other side into the other room so that he can drag her out from that patio. In the meantime, the woman is on the edge trying to get over the railing so that she can stand on the patio on solid ground, but she's wearing socks, so she slips in her attempt to get over and ends up falling 3 stories and lands on a car. Detective Chae and Ho-jun are in shock, and Chae-Won is beating herself up for messing up. Hyun-soo, meanwhile, is giving a rate to the CEO, Sang-chul. He offered him 5 million won, and Sang-chul has to think, this'll be hard. Will I make more money by handing him over to you, or will I make more money by handing you over to him? Which one will leave me with more profit? Mr. Young, people who calculate things never really last that long. Yes, you're right. I may be a thug, but I shouldn't betray my client. I won't be able to die a peaceful death. Client? Are you saying that you sold raw materials to both my dad and the accomplice? Raw materials? Ah, yes, that's what Min-seok used to call them. Okay, I've made up my mind. I'm going to let him have you. Meaning that he's going to hand over Hyun-soo to the accomplice. At the same time, Chae-Won is getting scolded by the chief of the station. Chae-Won, have you lost your mind? How could you leave the spot without putting handcuffs on her feet as well? Do you not know the manual? Chae-Won takes it silently, but Detective Chae and Woo-chul try to calm him down. Sir, everything happened so quickly. Detective Cha was just stuck to the plan. It's truly my fault. Are you kidding me right now? Woo-chul, this isn't just your problem. What if she dies? What if people find out she died during a sting operation? Damn it! Woo-chul gets a call from Ho-jun, who is at the hospital, who tells everyone that the woman is currently getting surgery right now, but the doctor had told him that she might not make it. Hearing this, Chae-Won just needs some comfort, so she goes outside and turns on her phone. She has 10 unread messages from her husband, and his very last message reads, Chae-Won, I feel so frustrated. I want to talk to you, and I can't wait for time to pass by. I want time to pass by so that we can both have the same memories. And eventually, I want to think and feel just like you. And Chae-Won thinks back to the day that he decorated their new house and spoke to Una, and that was still in Chae-Won's belly at the time. And she had asked him, I feel like I'm always the one receiving stuff from you. Is there anything you want from me? Actually, there is, Chae-Won. Don't ever change. You just need to keep loving me like you do now. All I need is your trust. If you do that for me, I'll live my entire life just for you. Chae-Won starts crying because she misses him, and while she's missing him, Hyun-soo is getting held against his will. He's on his knees, both his hands are extended and pinned to the side by 2 thugs, and his mouth is being held open by another hand. Sang-chul is mixing a drug that I'm presuming will probably knock Hyun-soo out, and when it's done, he approaches a struggling Hyun-soo. I shouldn't be doing this to Min-seok's kid, but what can I do? He's dead and his accomplice is alive. I feel terrible about this too, but when you wake up though, you'll be face to face with the one you're looking for so badly. Hold him still. Hyun-soo struggles as much as he can, and he suddenly shouts, I can be your client too, one who will constantly require your services. Do you know what I sell? People. And you're somebody who needs my services? Didn't my dad tell you about me? He did. He said that you were just like him. I didn't know that he meant it in this sense, though. And the tension in the room rises as Hyunsu's phone rings. It's Chae-Won. Sangchul lets Hyunsu answer it. Yes, Chae-Won? I just wanted to hear your voice. I had a really bad day today, and you're the only person that I kept thinking of. I'm busy right now, Chae-Won. What? I'm busy. At first, Chae-Won is confused, but no, this isn't how Hyunsu would speak to her, even when she knew that he wasn't who he said he was. He'd never been too busy for her ever since they started dating. From this moment on, answer my questions with only a yes or no. Can you do that? Yes. Are you in need of any assistance? No. Can you manage the situation alone? Yes. I'll give you an hour. You have 1 hour to come back to me. I miss you. I will. Back in the spring of 2008, Hyunsu was in his little workshop making a little metal sculpture when Chae-Won bursts in through the door. I passed, I got in, I'm a police officer now. And she's practically like bouncing on the balls of her feet and she keeps hugging him. Are you really that happy? You have no idea. My heart is about to burst with happiness. You're thrilled too, right? Of course I am. You know, my mom told me earlier that I wanted to be a cop since kindergarten. Not only did I get a job, but I fulfilled my childhood dream. Are you really happy for me? Of course. In present day, Hyunsu ends the call with Chae-Won and Sangchul extends his hand. The name's Yom Sangchul. You can call me Mr. Yom. Hyunsu, however, doesn't take the hand. Instead, he gets up off the ground and sits on the sofa. I didn't expect you to trust people so easily. It's actually the opposite. I have no interest in who you are, what your intentions are, and why you're looking for the people that we have. Our business transaction lies more about you trusting me than me trusting you. Mr. Young motions to the bartender, who takes the laptop in front of him and puts it in front of Hyunsu. Meanwhile, Chae-Won is looking at Hyunsu's real-time location. Remember that she put a tracker in his watch. Chae-Nam-dong, what on earth are you doing over there? And as soon as she says that, she gets a phone call from her husband. Honey, where should I meet you? At the police station? Meet me at the park right outside the station. Meanwhile, Hae-soo is staring at Imujin, who is currently changing the lights in her little rooftop apartment. When he's done, he takes out this bottle from his bag and says, apply a drop of this to your pillow before bed and you'll sleep like a baby. Let me assemble the lamp before I let you go. What are you doing? It won't take long, I promise, so hold on. He puts together the floor lamp and turns on the light, and then turns off the ceiling lights. Gosh, it sets the mood, doesn't it? Why are you doing this after leaving when I needed you most, Moojin? And she's thinking back to the day they broke up. He had so coldly broken up with her that she had ripped the silver necklace that he had gifted her, and she threw it as far as she could onto the field next to them before running away. But what she doesn't know is that after she had run away out of sight, Moojin had spent a lot of time, like hours, looking for the necklace again. In present day, Moojin puts on a small smile. You acted like you were past it all, but you weren't, were you? Hae-soo turns around and leaves the apartment, and Moojin follows her and says, I'm not going to apologize for how I acted back then. I never asked you to. I'm just saying I don't need you anymore. There's nothing you can possibly do for me now. I ran away back then. It's why I know that I'm in the best position to understand you right now. I killed a person, Moojin, but on top of that, I let Hyunsu take the fall for it. The one he cares for most thinks that Hyunsu is a ruthless murderer. I have to reveal the truth, so don't talk me out of it. Hae-soo, this isn't the best course of action, but Hae-soo has had enough. She goes back inside her apartment, slams the door shut, and locks it. But Moojin is not ready to give up yet. You know, curling up into a ball behind closed doors and crying your eyes out for hours only proves how pathetic you are, Hae-soo. Why do you think that there's nothing I can do for you? What about when you're sick, or when your toilet gets clogged, or when you need help lifting things, or when you're suddenly swept up in fear that it might swallow you whole? Even late at night, I'll be available for you, so call me, all right? This isn't a pity party. It's not because I want these things to be like how they were before. I just hate seeing you cope with everything by yourself, that's all. After listening to Moojin's little speech, Hae-soo picks up her phone and calls Chae-Won. I didn't get to finish what I wanted to tell you last time, so I called to tell you the rest. I know the real culprit behind who murdered the village foreman in Kagangri. Real culprit? What do you mean? Hyunsu didn't do anything. He didn't kill anyone. The real murderer is someone else. Once it's time, once I do what I need to do, I'll tell you exactly what happened that day. please don't forget what I said today. Hae-soo hangs up, leaving Chae-Won in shock. Now, remember that Chae-Won knows Hyun-soo, her husband, is not the accomplice to the serial killings, but she actually had no idea if he did or he did not actually kill the village foreman. That is, until now. While she's slowly starting to realize that her husband might just have never actually even attempted to kill somebody, Hyun-soo is running full speed towards Chae-Won. He stops completely out of breath right in front of her and shows off the time on his watch. It took me exactly 58 minutes. And while he's bragging about how he made it in time, Chae-Won is thinking, I was all you had, and even right now, I'm all you have. She breaks her silence. Did you get hurt? Why would I get hurt? The phone call earlier, but Chae-Won interrupts. I didn't mean it when I told you that I wanted to break up with you. I also didn't mean it when I told you that I've fallen out of love. I know, Chae-Won. She hugs him and says, no, you don't. I wish that we could switch bodies just for one day so you can feel how much I love you. Then I wouldn't feel so upset. And Hyun-soo, who has trouble with simple human emotions, is even more confused. There's something going on with you, isn't there? But Chae-Won just hugs him tighter. In the police station, Buchel is getting chewed out by the station chief. Do you even understand what you're saying right now? You're telling me that a human trafficker is involved in a serial murder case. Can you guarantee what you just said? Do you have proof? No, it's just what I think. I need more time. You need time? What if the woman dies? How will you find out who is behind her? Ho-jin calls Detective Chae and tells him that the surgery has just finished and she needs to survive the night in order to get out of the critical stage. Detective Chae is slowly getting more stressed because of how twisted this whole thing is becoming as the phone on his desk rings. Hello, this is Detective Chae Jae-seop speaking. Who? Oh Bok-ja? And to jog your memory, this is the grandmother who had called during Kyung-chun's case saying that she had a recent photo of Hyun-soo. And then her and Moo-jin had gotten attacked by Kyung-chun. I've been staying with my daughter and I came back home today. And while I was cleaning my room, I found something weird. And she's holding Moo-jin's little stick recorder. And it looks like Detective Chae found a jackpot. Just outside the station, Chae-Won and Hyun-soo are walking hand in hand while Chae-Won is telling him about the terrible day that she's had. Why didn't I think that she would just escape through the window if I left her all by herself? I guess that I was just so full of myself. I feel so embarrassed to face my team. I don't think I can take this anymore. Why don't you just be the breadwinner of the family? I mean, in 2 years, Anna will start going to school, and I recently started thinking, should we send her to school in the countryside? I heard that it's the trend these days. Once I'm done with this case, I want to raise Anna in a place that's quiet with clean air. Why don't we do that? Hyun-soo is quiet for a second before he picks up the badge around Chae-Won's neck. I still remember how happy you looked when you first wore this around your neck. She takes the badge back from him. It's okay, it's not that fun anymore. You're a bit weird today, Chae-Won. No, I'm not. You should go. I need to get back to work. I have so much work to do. Hyun-soo heads back home where he puts Anna to sleep, and the child is sleeping without a care in the world, and Hyun-soo attempts to get up after getting a good look at his daughter, but her tiny hands are holding onto the sleeve of his shirt, preventing him from getting up fully, and he gently removes Anna's hand away and says, I'm sorry. Daddy needs to go now. He heads down to the workshop and stares at the clock. It's getting close to midnight, and when they were talking earlier, so when Sang-cheol and Hyun-soo were talking earlier, Sang-cheol had written down 100,000 on a piece of paper before passing it to Hyun-soo and saying, I'll call you at midnight. Wait for my call. The transaction will start tomorrow at midnight. First, you bring the money to my office. If you pick someone from there, our deal can start tomorrow, but if you make an order, it'll take some time. Do you not want anyone? Hyun-soo looks at the laptop, and in there he sees one middle-aged woman, an old man, and a young boy. The kid. I'll take the kid. He then adds a 0 to the paper with the price on it and shoves it towards Sang-cheol. The name and photo of Min-seok's accomplice. I want that too. Sang-cheol takes the paper and he needs to hide his smile behind the paper. If you do this, it'll make it hard for me to refuse. He turns to one of his henchmen. Give the client his phone. It's a burner. They put a flip phone in front of him and Sang-cheol continues. Call me only from this. Let me explain the terms of our deal. If you break any of them, even just slightly, the deal is off. If the deal is off, I will quickly and silently destroy every piece of evidence. Of Of course, the evidence includes people, most likely saying that he's going to kill everybody who he's kidnapped, plus Hyun-soo. Meanwhile, back at the bank residence, the real Hee-sung is staring at his family portrait. The one that used to be of him, his mom, and his dad, is now of Hyun-soo, his mom, and his dad. So you're saying the man who I hit with my car is living my life right now? The dad tells Hee-sung that the reason behind their decision was, we concluded that you could not survive. Then what about me? How do I live now? What will happen to my life? Tell me, just that. I'll do whatever you tell me to, Dad. Can't we ask him to give me back my name? Please, I will ask and I will meet him. Please let me meet with him. The dad and the mom don't know what to say to him, and I can't imagine that anything would actually make him feel better in this sort of situation. And that's when the dad's phone rings. It's Hyun-soo. What is it so late at night? I have a favor I need to ask you. I need money, about $100,000 in cash. Why? I think I can find the accomplice for the Yeonju City serial murders. I found somebody who knows the accomplice. He wants payment for information. You don't want the name Hyun-soo being talked about any more than I do, right? Let's meet tomorrow. Come to the hospital. The phone call ends and the mom and Hee-sung are curious. What's wrong? What did Hyun-soo say? It's nothing. Dad, let me meet him. If he meets me, maybe he'll have some pity. He isn't that easy, Hee-sung. If he finds out that you woke up, he'll think that you're an obstacle. Then what do you plan to do? And he doesn't tell the rest of his family, but the look in his eyes says it all. He's planning on getting rid of Hyun-soo. The next morning, Hyun-soo wakes up to see Chae-Won curled into a ball next to him. She's still in her work clothes and she fell asleep without even getting underneath the blankets. So he covers Chae-Won with a blanket before going to the bathroom. And again, he starts practicing his happy expression. But halfway through the practice, his heartbeat picks up. He feels like he can't breathe. Sweat is forming on his forehead and he collapses onto the ground. He leaves the bathroom after looking a little pale and he sees Chae-Won running to the front door. Are you leaving already? You hardly slept. Things got urgent. The only lead we had, the woman just passed away. She tries to go past Hyun-soo to the door, but he stops her again. He starts running his fingers through her hair because she still has bedhead, and he asks her, why aren't you asking me where I was yesterday and with whom and why I answered the phone like that? Tell me when you want to tell me. I'm always ready to listen. I'll see you later. And at the police station, because of the death of this woman, the chief of the station is holding a press meet. I am Captain Yoon Sung-pil of the Violent Crimes Unit. I'll begin the briefing regarding the reinvestigation of the Yeonju City serial murder case. Since we've already circulated the press release, I'll start taking questions right away. A reporter raises his hand. A reporter raises his hand and asks, we can't determine the relationship between Hwang Chung-soon, which is the woman, and the Yeonju City serial murders from this press release. Was the sting operation properly done? Someone died because of it. I'd like to know your stance on the issue. In the background, Woo-chul is trying his best to think of a way to prove that the human trafficking ring is indeed related to the serial killings. What about her bank accounts? There's nothing unusual in there. The only thing that stands out is that she transferred money to a nursing home. Her mother has dementia. Okay, how about where she went yesterday? She went to Cherim Market, and Chae-Won is like, Cherim Tong? Her husband was there yesterday. Ho-jun enters the room and says that no one showed up to claim the body, and Woo-chul is at a loss, so he turns to Detective Chae. You went to Kakemri yesterday, right? That? Well, yeah, it was nothing much. And again, Chae-Won is surprised, but before she can really dig into why Detective Chae even went to Kakemri, the phone, her office phone, rings. This is Detective Chae-Won of the Kangsu police station. Hello? Please go ahead.
I have some grave information regarding the Yeonju City serial murder case.
May I ask who's calling?
This is Hyun-soo.
And again, Chae-Won is surprised. Why in the world is her husband calling the police? When Chae-Won doesn't respond, her colleagues start getting curious. Chae-Won, who's on the phone? Who is it? She doesn't answer, so Detective Chae takes the phone out of her hand. Yes, please go ahead. What did you just say? Hyun-soo, you're the real Hyun-soo, the son of Tong-suk? Are you aware that prank calls to the police station is a crime, you punk?
That's not how you should talk to a person who'll help you catch the accomplice. You're making me want to hang up.
Hold on, just 1 second. Detective Chae pulls the phone away from his ear, he covers the receiver and tells the rest of the team. It's Hyun-soo. He identified himself as Hyun-soo. They put him on speaker and Woo-chul takes over. Mr. To, I have put you on speaker. Is that all right?
Yes. How many detectives am I talking to?
4.
No one but the 4 of you can know about our conversation. Can you promise me that?
You have my word. Let me inform you that I'm also recording our call. So, what is the information that you wish to share with us?
There's a human trafficking ring that sold people to Min-seok and his accomplice. I have information regarding them. That is how Min-seok and his accomplice obtained their victims. Tonight, I will make a deal with that ring. I will be given a person of my choice and information regarding Min-seok's accomplice. What I can offer you is a chance to raid the scene of our business transaction.
When and where will it take place?
I will lay down my terms first. You are probably aware of this, but this phone isn't in my name. And even if you manage to track my location right now, you won't be able to spot me all that easily.
Hyun-soo is using the burner phone that the traffickers had given him, and he's changing his voice with the voice distorter, and he's sitting in the food court in a mall, so it will indeed be quite hard to track him. And Hyun-soo continues.
In order to conclude the Yeonju City serial murder case, I will provide you with all the information I have. I need you to promise me on behalf of the honor of your badge that you will do everything you can to protect my identity. And every piece of information that you have obtained from my call must be destroyed as soon as you close the case.
And would that be all?
Yes.
And Detective Chae has to interrupt. Hold on. That's all you want? A fugitive on the run for 20 years only called the police in order to see justice served? You expect us to believe that?
I am not Min-seok's accomplice. That is all I want to prove.
Ho-jun believes it. He must really not be the accomplice. But Detective Chae just can't. Why on earth would we believe him? Truth should be told, I can't even be sure if you're the real Hyun-soo or some nutjob who's playing with us. And Chae-Won has an idea. Mr. To, how about this? Give us the information on the person who sold people to Min-seok. We'll verify your tip and move on with your plan once we're sure the information is good. If we are to move on, your terms will automatically be met. Hyun-soo thinks for a bit.
Sure, the man you want is Young Sang-chul. Tread with caution. If he finds out that you're onto him, all of his prisoners will die, as will I.
The call ends and immediately Chae-Won leaves the room and in the hallway dials Hyun-soo on her personal phone. What are you up to? I'm on my way to buy some supplies. Why? Honey, can you pick me up later? Let's go out for dinner. How about the pipim noodles that we had last time? I'm suddenly craving that. That reminds me, Chae-Won, I actually won't be able to come home tonight. There's this funeral that I need to attend. It's a business partner of father's and it's very important. Don't go. Why not? I just don't want you to. You see, I had this nightmare last night. Then that's why you should always sleep properly in bed. Are you still going to go? Yes, Chae-Won, I have to. Do what you want then, I'm hanging up. Chae-Won, I want to be someone who's decent enough for you. That's who I want to be. I need to get back to work. I'll call you again around 10 p.m. Back at the real Hee-sung's home, the mom and the son are out in their backyard enjoying the fresh evening air. Isn't it cold? I don't mind. I got to come outside for some air. The maid who had come out at this time covers Hee-sung's legs with a blanket and signs to him, asking him if he wants a cup of tea. Hee-sung nods, saying thank you, but as the maid is walking away, he asks his mom, how much does she know? We purposefully hired someone who doesn't know how to read lips. She also signed an NDA, so she can't say anything even if she does know something. Hee-sung, last time you told me that you needed to meet someone. Who was that? A woman. I would have met her if it wasn't for the accident that day. After that happened, all of our lives turned out very differently. Moojin's life would have been different as well. Right now, he's getting scolded by his boss, Miss Kang, because he didn't get that exclusive interview with Hae-soo, and Miss Kang needs to know why he's refusing to get that interview when she literally rejected Moojin's feelings. And in the middle of their conversation, he gets a message from Hyun-soo. Let's meet. It's important. Hae-soo, on the other hand, is going through with the hypnosis. The hypnotist is coaching her on how to go back to whatever memory that she wants. Right now, you are the wind. You can... Sorry, I'm gonna try to do this with a straight face, but if I smile halfway through, please have some pity on me. Right now, you are the wind. You can't go anywhere. When I count to 3, you will arrive at your father's funeral. 1, 2, 3. Miss Do, you have all the time you need. take some time to look around. Hae-soo slowly approaches in a third-person view of her memory, where the accomplice is writing his phone number down on her hand. I see something weird. The fingernails on his left hand, they're way too short. It seems so uncomfortable. She then sees a green silicone band. What the band has written on it is a mystery. It's way too blurry to make out, but she has seen that logo somewhere before, and she's trying to remember where she saw it, but the hypnotist asks her if she can see the culprit's face. She slowly looks up, and she sees the hat, and then his eyes. He's looking at me. He's looking at my face very thoroughly. He's trying to memorize how I look. I'm scared. Please get me out of here. And the hypnotist gets her out. And Hae-soo is really shaken up. He's going to come kill me. Miss To, calm down. What you saw happened 18 years ago. It's okay. Everything is fine. You just need to trust me. I don't think that you should be driving in this state. Is there anyone you can call? No, but I'm okay. Just give me some time. Hae-soo gets up from her seat and goes to take a little walk, and at the same time, Woo-jin's phone call comes through. The police in the meantime have gathered information on Sang-cheol, and Ho-jin is giving the rest of the team a quick presentation on Sang-cheol's organization. His name is Young Sang-cheol. He was born in 1973, and he was sentenced to 10 years in jail for attempted murder and arson when he was 17 years old in 1990. In 1997, he got released on parole for agreeing to do some volunteer work. Here's the important part though. The place that he did volunteer at after he got released on parole was at Deep Spring Children's Psychiatry Clinic. Chae-Won points out that this is where Hyun-soo got treated from 1997 to 1999, and Detective Chae concludes that this means that Young Sang-cheol and To Min-seok had a connection. Then Woo-cho asks, then what about the connection between him and Hwang Chong-soon, the woman who just died recently? Detective Chae fills him in. Sang-cheol is running an employment agency in Cheol-kyu. The footage is from yesterday. She was caught walking past the parking lot in front of Sang-cheol's employment agency. All this means that Hyun-soo's tip-off has some credibility. Detective Chae gets all excited. If we succeed in catching these guys, everyone in our team will definitely get promoted. We are going to catch Hyun-soo, right? And Chae-Won pales. She's not the only one who's pale though. Hae-soo is currently angry in Woo-jin's car. Woo-jin, however, is just concerned. Are you okay? From now on, take me with you. I heard that it's not good to drive after hypnotherapy. I'm going to find another hypnotherapist. I don't trust people who answer my phone without my permission. She told me to pick you up because you saved me on your phone as Woo-jin이. She thought that we were friends, judging by how you saved my number. Hearing this, Hae-soo pulls up her contacts and changes Woo-jin이 to reporter Kim. Woo-jin sighs and says, you should open up. Why should I open up to you? I mean that you should open up to your therapist. She told me that you're too suspicious and anxious about others. You might be the one causing yourself to be scared. And Hae-soo changes the topic. What did Hyun-soo want to meet about? I don't know. Yesterday he left after saying that he remembered something, so it's probably about that. At the police station, Detective Chae has the whole plan figured out on how he's going to arrest Hyun-soo. If they keep him talking over the phone, he'll accidentally leak something regarding his location. So if they keep him calling them, then they'll be able to figure out where he lives. Once they find the area, they'll collect all the DNA from the men in their 30s and 40s who live in that area. And then they can compare those DNA samples to Hae-soo's DNA, and because they're siblings, it'll be a pretty strong match. Hae-soo and Woo-jin are gathered in Woo-jin's apartment when Hyun-soo drops his confession, and they do not like it. What is he thinking about giving a tip to the police, and that too is Hyun-soo? But Hyun-soo justifies his actions. That's the only way that they move quickly. We don't have time. They promised to protect me if my tip is confirmed to be true. Hae-soo can't believe it. How can you believe them? You can't believe the police. They'll take what they want and then stab you in the back. Woo-jin adds his own thoughts. Are you stupid? Just get the information about the accomplice from Sang-cheol. Once the cops get involved, he'll know that you betrayed him and make you pay. I thought about it, you know, guys? I thought about what Chae-Won would have done with those victims who were locked up if she were me. If it were her, then she would have never ignored them. Woo-jin, I need your help. Things may not go as planned. We need a contingency plan. Well, what about me? I want to help too, Hyun-soo. What can I do? I need to do something. I want to do something. Hae-soo, I don't have enough faith in you to entrust you with something this important. You're far too unstable. You almost made a mistake in front of Chae-Won last time too. There's a good chance that you may get emotional and ruin things for us. Hyun-soo is upset hearing this, but she understands. She did slip up pretty badly last time. And then Chae-Won's call comes through the burner phone. Hyun-soo turns on the voice distorter and picks up. This is Detective Chae-Won from the Kangsu police station. You're on speakerphone. Now, Woo-Chul jumps in. I'm Chief Yi Woo-Chul. We believe in the tip that you submitted, Mr. Till.
Alright, then let me summarize. There will be 2 transactions for the deal. During the first contact, I will hand Sang-chul the money. Once he checks the amount, you will receive information about the second location. I will go to the second location and receive the victims. If there is a problem at the first contact, then the second will not happen. Then the police will lose their chance to raid the trafficking ring.
So you will complete the first contact and then notify us of the second location? Then we'll go in when they hand you the victims, right?
I'll handle the first contact, but the police must take complete responsibility for the second. That is the only way we can catch everyone in Sang-chul's ring.
Mr. Toll, I think it's far too dangerous for you to go alone. Let us protect you. Where is the location of the first contact?
No, I will not come in contact with the police for any reason.
And Woo-Chul spends the next few minutes trying to convince Hyun-soo to take them as backup with no luck when Chae-Won jumps in. Mr. Toll, please trust us. So what is happening? Is Chae-Won selling out her husband? No, of course not. She loves and trusts him. And this is a K-drama. Chae-Won had actually refused to trick Hyun-soo like that. Back when Detective Chae had suggested to backstab Hyun-soo, Chae-Won laid down an ultimatum. I refuse to do that. Hyun-soo put himself in danger to call in this tip to help save the victims who were abducted. If we must betray that trust to capture him, if that's what we must do, I will drop out of this investigation. In present time, despite Woo-Chul's pleas, Hyun-soo stays solid on his decision. There will be no police involvement at the first location. Sang-chul, in the meantime, is at the bar that Min-seok and his accomplice used to meet at, asking the bartender about the goods. One of their eyes is bad because of diabetes. What about the kid? He's slightly dehydrated, but other than that, he's fine. Good, as long as the kid is fine. One of Sang-chul's other henchmen comes in with an envelope for Sang-chul, and Sang-chul takes a look. It's nice to see this familiar face. He and Min-seok used to be joined at the hip. He never comes around anymore. At the hospital, Hyun-soo is meeting with his fake dad for money. There's this brown paper bag with a stack of cash in it, and while Hyun-soo is checking the cash, the father is going on and on about how he thinks that things that can be resolved with money are the easiest things to deal with. However, I'm worried that this won't resolve it, but rather make things worse. Hyun-soo, I'll give you 10 times this amount. Leave without a trace. Don't worry about your family. I'll tie up all the loose ends for you. I refuse. I don't trust you with my family. What do you think of me, Hyun-soo? You're very similar to me. You don't care what you must do to obtain your goal. What about you? Could you entrust your family with me? Your honesty actually puts me more at ease. How lucky is it for people like us to have a common goal, right? I'll get going then. Sure. Hyun-soo, goodbye. At the police station, Woo-Chul is debriefing the chief, Sang-pil, about the new information that they just learned. Who on earth is the informant? I'm sorry, sir, I can't say. You're requesting backup without naming your informant? Yes, sir, we'll need all the backup you can provide. In order to completely solve the Yeonju City serial murder case, we must arrest Sang-chul. Outside, Detective Chae, Chae-Won, and Ho-jun are getting ready for the raid, and while getting ready, Detective Chae randomly goes, Chae-Won, I'll only say this once, so listen up. I am truly glad that you are on this team. Once again today, you reminded me of that. Usually, a compliment like this would make her smile, but right now she can't look Detective Chae in the eyes. She has been fooling all of them for so long. Detective Chae's phone rings, interrupting the moment, and it's the police hacker dude, you know, the one who put the tracker inside of Hyun-soo's watch. It's about the recording device. I restored all of the data. So Detective Chae got this man to restore everything, which means that he will definitely find out about Hyun-soo's and Chae-Won's secret. Chae-Won, in the meantime, goes to the rooftop of the station and calls Hyun-soo's burner phone. I have something to ask. Sungil's wife gave me your bag, and I heard the recording on the cassette player inside. Can you tell me who that voice belongs to? You don't have to if you don't want to. My mother. It was 1997, right before my mother went missing. She gave it to me so that I could remember her. My father reported her missing and the police confiscated all of her belongings, and I thought that they'd take it too if I said something. You must have really deeply loved your mother. No, a psychiatrist diagnosed me as someone who lacks empathy and the ability to feel emotion. I'm not capable of feeling such an emotion. Then why did you hang on to it for so long? I don't know. No one's ever told me why I behaved the way I did, so I can't really explain it to you. I don't want to lie to you, you see. Mr. To, please stay safe today. And Hyunsu's wheels start turning. Chae-Won had told him earlier that she would call him around 10 p.m. He looks at his watch, and sure enough, it's 10 p.m. Does that mean that she knows who he is? Chae-Won is, in the meantime, standing on the roof thinking about everything she has just found out about Hyunsu. And one thing in particular sticks out to her is something that Hyunsu's child therapist had said. She had told Chae-Won that she believes that the recording triggers Hyunsu's aggression and violent tendencies. It encourages him to be violent. And now she's pissed off. She dials a therapist and gives her a piece of her mind. How could you not have known? Why did you never stop to think that it could have been something that was given to him by his mother? You interviewed Hyunsu right after his mom went missing. What else would a boy that age have been fixated on? The answer would have been so obvious if he was a normal kid. But you should have seen past that. You were the only one who could have helped him back then. You should have known. Detective Chae, on the other hand, had now gotten his hands on the device, but the hacker has a complaint. Why is everyone coming to me, though? The police have their own forensics team. I don't want my work to end up on record. What do you mean, though? Did someone else come by? The detective who you bought by the other time, the female one? Chae-Won? What for? I'll be out of business if I brief confidentiality like this. Spoken like a true professional. That is why I am so fond of you. Anyway, thanks again. He gets into the car, and while driving, he goes through the recordings. And the first one is about In-So's case. It's the mom's interview that Moojin was doing, and Detective Chae is so incredibly proud when he hears Ji-won's voice in the recording bantering with Moojin. The next recording is one that Moojin tried to record in secret. It starts off harmless, just about, breaking a few traffic laws. But when Moojin's voice comes through saying, Hyunsu, how did Hyunsu become Baek Hee-sung? How did you manage to fool Detective Cha? Detective Chae pulls over because he is completely shaken up, and he replays it a few times just to make sure his ears are functioning properly. And then everything starts to make sense. All of Ji-won's strange actions for the past few weeks make sense. She's been covering for her murdering husband. The husband at the moment is dressed up in all black and is driving to the first location with Moojin. And during the car ride, Moojin is confronting Hyunsu about how he treats his sister. Do you have to be so harsh to Hae-soo? I bet you don't know what that feels like. I talk to her that way, Moojin, because this is far too dangerous for her. Then you could have just told her that you couldn't want her to get hurt. The more dangerous it is, the more she'd want to get involved. Then what about me? Why do I need to be involved in something so dangerous? And as cheekily as ever, Hyunsu responds, I only asked for your help. You made the decision yourself. You're right. I wonder why I agreed to help you. Because I asked you to help me in front of my sister. You never turn me down when you're in front of my sister because you want to impress her. What? Are you saying that you manipulated me just now? Yes, I have always done that, and I think I always will. Hae-soo is back in her apartment searching up green silicone wristband, and I'm surprised that it took her such little time to find the wristband that she was looking for, because there are so many freaking images of green silicone wristband. But she finds what she's looking for on a page about the 2019 kickoff ceremony of Ilshin University Hospital's overseas medical volunteer work, Baekmanu's hospital. Back at the station, Woo-cheol is debriefing the team about the situation when Detective Chae barges into the room. He charges up to Chae-Won. Come outside right now. You don't deserve to be here. When she doesn't move, he grabs her wrist and starts dragging her out, and everyone in the room is confused. The afternoons are the worst times for recording because of these sounds. Anyway, when she doesn't move, he grabs her wrist and starts dragging her out. And everyone in the room is confused. And Woo-cheol and Ho-jung are concerned. This is very much unlike Detective Chae. He starts dragging her out into the hallway where Chae-Won and Woo-cheol start telling Detective Chae to let go of her hand. But he starts going off on Ji-won. You knew, didn't you? You knew everything, didn't you? Ji-won feels her heart dropping to her feet. How could you? How could you do this, Chae-Won? You knew everything and you manipulated us to do things your way. You lied to us. And we're back in time again. We're going to do a little time travel trip to just after Euna was born. Chae-Won and Hyunsu are looking at Euna, who's in the hospital nursery, and Chae-Won starts crying at the sight of their daughter. Why are you crying? She's just too beautiful, that's all. I'm grateful that she made it, but I also feel sorry. I don't know. It's hard to describe what's going on right now. What's going on in your mind at this moment? I'm worried. What if she doesn't like me? That's absurd. You're her dad. Luna starts crying and Hyunsu is startled. Why did she suddenly burst into tears? She probably shares our feelings. Excited, worried, scared. There's a lot she wants to say, but she can't put it into words yet. Haesoo is still looking at the Ilshin Hospital medical work article, and she gets startled when she hears a small noise coming from outside her window. She slowly heads over to her window and rips the curtains open, but there's no one there. She really doesn't seem to be in a good mental state at the moment, but to her, there are things that are far more urgent. She closes the curtains again, and when she sees the hospital director is Baek Man-woo, her eyes widen. Meanwhile, Detective Chae is looking at a crying Chae-Won, and Woo-cheol is getting angrier and angrier. Are you out of your mind? Let go! Let go of her! He approaches the two of them and rips Detective Chae away from Chae-Won. Ho-jin starts asking Detective Chae what in the world has gotten into him, but Chae-Won speaks up. It's all my fault. He's not to blame. Come with me, Chae-Won. And Detective Chae leaves to the rooftop. Chae-Won follows after him, and when they stop walking, she starts talking. How did you find out? I don't know how I can even begin to explain this. Then don't. I won't hear your excuses or your explanation. Instead, you'll answer my questions. When did you find out? While investigating Kyungchun's case? I thought as much. Does Hyunsu know that you found out? No, he has no idea. Then here is what we'll do. You didn't know anything. The evidence I have is enough to prove that Hyunsu is Hee-sung. I won't let you get wrapped up in it. You're Hyunsu's greatest victim. Things got this far because you didn't know what to do, right? Chae-Won shakes her head no. Detective Chae starts getting more annoyed. Chae-Won, these emotions you have aren't real. The truth was too shocking for you to handle, and your brain is protecting you by siding with your attacker. You're aware of this. No, Detective Chae, that's not the case. There's another truth to this story. I am sure of it. Then what about the real Hee-sung? What happened to him? A man who's had his identity stolen for 10 years wouldn't be alive and kicking. And at first she's at a loss for words, but then she remembers. Hee-sung's parents are involved. The parents gave him their son's identity. He's not the kind of person who would hurt others. And where is your proof for that, Chae-Won? Proof other than your belief in your husband. Chae-Won falls to her knees in front of him and she starts begging. Please help me just this once. I am begging you. Just look the other way. I'll put my life on the line to prove his innocence. He won't have a chance once he's arrested. The son of a serial killer and a psychopath who has a detective for a wife. It's obvious how the world will see him. Everybody will throw rocks at him and taunt him indefinitely. You know very well that people aren't interested in the boring truth, so how could I possibly watch it happen? Chae-Won, you may resent me now, but you'll learn to thank me for it later. We'll raid Sang-chul and his gang tonight and arrest Hyunsu tomorrow morning. I can't leave you as is without taking action, so remove yourself until everything is sorted. Keep your eyes closed. And he walks away from her. Hyunsu, in the meantime, is telling Woojin about his part in this whole thing. Once I hand over the money, the second part of the transaction will begin. During that stage, I will be handed a person. The police must move in just as I do. If I'm not able to send the secondary location to the police, then you will have to do it for me. And Woojin is confused. How is he supposed to get the address when he's not going inside with Hyunsu? Hyunsu pulls out a little black box. A radio receiver. There's a wiretapping device in this bag filled with money, and of course it's not visible to the naked eye. And what if they use a detector? They told you not to bring any communication devices. Hyunsu makes his way into the room so that he's at the employment agency, the one in the basement, and there is indeed someone who is checking him with a detector, but nothing goes off. His response to Woojin was, it's simple, I'll turn the switch on a little later. Hyunsu places the bag of money on the table, unzips the bag, and his index finger that is hidden underneath when he's opening the flap, he uses that to press a small button that Hyunsu has sewn into this bag, and the transmission to Woojin starts. Sang-chul pulls out a stack of cash and he ruffles through it while sniffing the money. I have to say, it smells very nice. Hey, count the money. So, where do I need to go to get what I asked for? What's the rush? Let me check the money. Woojin is listening intently when his phone rings, and it's Haesoo. Hey, how's it going? Things are going well for now, but why did you call me? I think I figured something out. I'll tell you the details next time. The thing is, Woojin, I have a favor to ask you. At the police station, Woo-chul had gone back to debriefing the backup when Detective Chae bursts in again. Detective Cha won't be joining us today. What's going on? Well, her daughter got hospitalized. Yes, it looks like she's really sick, but she couldn't tell us or go to the hospital because of this emergency situation. So I told her that she should just go ahead and check up on her. But the moment he finishes saying out his little line, Chae-Won enters the room behind him. Apparently, Anna is fine, so you don't need to worry. She's sleeping in my mom's house right now. Thank you so much for worrying. Detective Chae looks at her dead in the eyes and says, Chae-Won, I really don't think that you should be here right now. Why can't you just do as I say? I need to take part in this case no matter what. With Hyunsu, the money has just finished being counted and they're stacking it away in their little safe, and Sung-chul has written down the address on a piece of paper. He pushes it towards Hyunsu. Memorize it. Hyunsu picks up the paper and pretends to memorize it by reading it out loud. 5737 Cheol-kyu. If you go there, your item will be ready. You just need to take it and leave. Woojin, who now knows the address, immediately calls Chae-Won through the burner phone.
Hello? This is Hyunsu. The address is 5737 Cheol-kyu. Sang-chul's men are waiting with the people they have kidnapped.
And with that, the entire police team sets out. Detective Chae blocks Chae-Won's way. I want you to stay here and do everything you can to get yourself off of this case. That is the right thing to do. Detective Chae, you of all people should know how much I want to solve this case more than anyone. That's the problem, Chae-Won. You're too emotionally invested. He just called us for backup, but you want me to stay in the office and wait? Would you be able to do that if you were in my shoes? Tonight, our goal is to arrest everyone in Sang-chul's gang. Plus, Hyunsu will only contact me. Do you really think that you don't need me? Answer me and I'll do as you say. Back with Hyunsu, Sang-chul burns the paper and Hyunsu asks, what about the information about the accomplice? I have it ready for you. I got you his photo, name, and address. He pulls out a brown envelope and he puts it in front of Hyunsu. Hyunsu reaches over and he has the envelope in his hands. He can finally figure out who was responsible for the terrors 18 years ago. And then Sang-chul's phone rings and the contact that pops up is Peg. Oh, give me a second. And Sang-chul yanks the envelope back. Hello, sir. It's been a while. You're in no situation to answer the phone with such a bright voice. Let me cut to the chase. There are two reasons why you must get rid of the guy in front of you right now. Number one, Hyunsu is working with the cops. Oh, I see. Number two, I'll give you twice the money that he agreed to give you. Twice? My goodness, you always think ahead of me. I almost made a very grave mistake. He lives with a fake identity. Even if he's working with the cops, there's no way he would meet them directly. There won't be any cops protecting him right now. They hang up, and in case you're confused, the back contact is Baekmaru, the dad. So the dad has just called Sang-chul to tell him to kill Hyunsu. They hang up, and Sang-chul tells his henchman to pack up the money, and then he folds up the brown envelope and puts it in his back pocket. Hyunsu moves forward a little bit. Don't I deserve to know what's going on right now? Quiet. Let me ask you a question. Do you prefer a mountain or a sea? Where do you want to be buried, you darn mole? And outside, in the car, Woojin is like, oh no. The fake dad, after selling out Hyunsu, leaves his little secret room and his son is there in his wheelchair. I can't sleep. I'm too scared. What are you scared of, Hee-sung? Hyunsu? He won't give up my identity. He won't let me live. That won't happen, Hee-sung. I won't let it. And then the doorbell to their mansion rings. The mom goes to the intercom. So most Korean houses have a pretty cool system for doors. And how it works is that they have somebody who, when you ring the doorbell, there's like a camera or something that's over there and it'll show who the person outside your door is inside the house. So they have this whole screen that'll show them the face, and also on that screen they'll have little buttons of you can reject this person from coming inside, or you can like open up the gates for them or open up doors for them. So yeah, it's a pretty advanced system. So on the little screen thing, Jesus' face popped up, but both the parents are confused when they see the person's face. It's someone they've never met before. So why is she here at this hour? Who are you? I apologize for coming at this late at night, but I'm Toisu. Hyunsu is my brother, and I need to discuss something with you urgently, so I looked up your address. My apologies for being so rude. The parents look at each other wide-eyed, and Hee-sung, who's a couple feet away, looks shocked. They open the door for her, and she heads inside. The police on the other side of town have managed to successfully ambush the rest of the henchmen. One of the henchmen, the bartender, starts trying to run away, so Chae-Won and Detective Chae team up to cut this man off, and they do so on a bridge. Seeing no way out, the bartender tries to jump off the bridge, but Detective Chae drags him off the railing by his suit coat, and the bartender uses this chance to pull out a knife. He's about to stab Detective Chae, but Chae-Won sees this and pushes Detective Chae to the side to get him away and gets stabbed by the knife instead. And then she disarms him, pushes him down onto his knees where Detective Chae handcuffs him, and this time it's Chae-Won's turn to be angry. Why didn't you put on your protective gear when coming into a sting operation? I knew that this rat had a knife, Chae-Won. Calm down. What if he had stabbed you? You got lucky with Kyung-chun. You could have died today. Don't you think about your family? Hey, don't you dare butt in like that in the future. Do you know how scared I was? As if I have a future. So basically, Chae-Won is not hurt because she had put on this protective gear underneath her clothing, which is incredibly effective at blocking knives, so it seems at least. So why do other police dramas not use this? Why are people always getting stabbed? I don't know. That's a good question. Chae-Won speaks into their little communication device that they have attached, sharing that they have captured the bartender. Detective Chae is getting ready to walk back to everyone else when Chae-Won says that she still has something she needs to do. Hyunsu, meanwhile, is getting thrown around by Sung-cheol's henchman. He's this very tall, very buff dude, so all of Hyunsu's punches and kicks don't even faze the man. Hyunsu is then forced onto his knees in front of Sung-cheol, who asks him, "What do you get by working with the cops?" "Who said that I was working with the cops?" "Why does this rat keep doing stupid things? The cops won't help you." "Who was it? Who told you that I was working with the cops?" "Think long and hard about it. Whom did you tell your little secret to? Who do you think ratted you out to me? Who? The cops? A friend? A lover? Curious, right? But sorry, you need to get out of here in order to find the traitor. But you can't. Not alive, at least. Tie him up." Before the henchman can tie him up, though, the fire alarm starts ringing in their room and outside. The henchman goes outside to check what that noise is and where it's coming from, and Bujin is a couple feet away from the door playing with the fire alarm. He plays it off as if he's inspecting it. "I'm just checking this. It works really well." The henchman looks around to see if there's anyone else there, and when there's nobody else, he turns around to go back inside when Moojin yells, "Hey, meathead!" The man turns around and gets blasted by a fire extinguisher. While Moojin is extinguishing the shit out of this man, he's also yelling, "Hey, Hyunsu, get out! Damn it, no more gas, get out!" And he runs away from the henchman when the gas in the fire extinguisher runs out, and the henchman follows after him. Inside, Sang-cheol kicks Hyunsu in the stomach. "You're the cop's snitch, but that moron is your only savior? If I were you, I'd take the money and get out of here." Moojin is hightailing it to the parking garage with the big man still falling behind him, and he ends up behind a car with his hands over his mouth so that his breathing sound doesn't alert the man that's now looking all over this parking garage for him. Hae-soo is sitting in front of Hyunsu's fake parents, and they're drinking some tea when the mom asks, "I didn't know you were in touch with your brother." "I didn't see him even once for these 18 years. I actually just saw him again recently." The dad clears his throat. "This isn't the most pleasant situation for us. If Hyunsu told a third party about our arrangement, it would be quite inconvenient for us, you see." Hae-soo apologizes, but the mom is curious about something else. "Miss To, what exactly did Hyunsu tell you about us?" "He said that your son lies in a comatose state," and behind her, a door from another room opens slightly, just a crack, revealing Hee-sung on the other side. He can't see her face, she's seated with her back to him, and Hae-soo, completely unaware that there's this other person in the back that's watching her, is still going on about what Hyunsu told her about them. "Even though you know his story, you took pity on him. That's what I heard. He said that you're the most generous." The dad says, "Let's hear it then. I'd like to know why you went through such great lengths to find this address just so you could talk to us." "Oh, right, of course. Can you take a look at this?" And she slides a picture of the green silicone band towards him. This It's the commemorative bracelet that we handed out for our overseas volunteers. Why? I was hoping you could provide me with a list of the names and the photos of the people who volunteered from 1999 to 2002. I'm aware that the reinvestigation of the Yeonju City serial murder case has you all on edge too. And the mom starts panicking. Why? Why do you think we're on edge? And Haesoo is confused. Does she really need to explain why the situation is bad? But the dad covers it up. Well, you're right. We're worried that Hyunsoo will get caught up in it all, which is why we're agitated to even watch the news. Hyunsoo is not a criminal, sir. He has nothing to do with our father's crimes. I can promise you that. Yes, we know. We trust him too. However, what does that case have to do with this bracelet? On June 10th, 2002, a man came to pay his respects at my father's funeral. He was wearing this bracelet. I recently found out that he's my father's old accomplice. If I'm able to see his face again, I might remember him. And behind the door, Hee-sung starts biting his nails. Back in the parking garage, Woojin is now hiding underneath some cars, and he moves from underneath one car to the next car by dragging his body like military style, which is strange because I feel like your clothes being dragged on the floor also makes some noise, but I don't know. He's covering his mouth, shaking in fear when he has an idea. He pulls out his phone and starts an Instagram live. Everyone, this is reporter Kim of Hanjungan. No, this isn't an ASMR video. I'm currently undercover to report the crimes of a human trafficking ring, but I'm in quite a predicament at the moment. And the comments are skeptical. Human trafficking? Is he putting on a show? Oh my god, I hear footsteps. Mr. Kim, be careful. If something happens to me, please call the police. I'm at the basement parking lot of the Hakjin building in Cheol-kyu. And then he gets dragged out from underneath the car that he was hiding under. The gangster had found him and he kicks Woojin a few times and then pins him up against the collar and then starts lifting him up by his collar. Woojin extends his arm upwards so that the gangster can't reach the phone, and he screams, "Everyone, I might die here today, but journalism will live on." And while Woojin is dying downstairs, Hyunsoo is dying upstairs. Sang-chul is going around the office collecting all the things that would incarcerate him, and then he's trying to burn them. He makes a little pile, starts pouring gasoline all over them while yelling at Hyunsoo. "It wouldn't be fair of me to give you an easy death when you stabbed me in the back. Darn it, because of you, all I want is for you to die a horrible death, the most painful and brutal one, and I'll make sure it happens." And Hyunsoo, who is struggling with bindings, says, "At least let me die knowing who stabbed me in the back. Wouldn't that bring me more pain?" Sang-chul laughs. "Still playing tricks, are you?" Sang-chul heads over to the table with the money bag and rips out the recorder device from inside the bag. He throws it onto the ground and stomps on it. He then pours gasoline all around the room. "I thought about what you and your people could be planning. You messed with the wrong person, so you only have yourself to blame." Once he's done, he grabs the money, gets his lighter out, and flicks it to get some flames. But before he can drop the flames onto the gas, he feels a gun on the side of his head. The gun owner slowly moves Sang-chul back into the room, and it's Chae-Won. Back at the scene of the human trafficking bus, Woo-chul opens the doors to the truck container that all the henchmen were gathered around before the bus. And in there is In-so, an old man, and a middle-aged woman. All three of them get loaded onto ambulances, and when In-so is getting loaded, Ho-jun stops them. "In-so, what happened? Can I finally go home now?" "Of course." "Then I'll be fine. I'll be fine as long as I can go home." I feel so bad for the little kid. He has gone through something that no child his age should ever have to go through. No person actually should ever have to go through. Woo-chul has gone to talk to Detective Chae. "Where's Detective Cha?" "She received a call about Una's fever spiking, so I told her that she could run along." "Detective Chae, I should understand this, right?" "Of course, I mean, it's her kid." "I know you wouldn't lie to me without a good reason." And Detective Choi thinks back to what he said on the bridge to Chae-Won when she said that she was going to check up on Hyunsoo. "Tomorrow morning, I'll uphold my duty and arrest him as a police officer. Tomorrow morning, okay? You can do whatever you want tonight. I won't care." And tonight, Chae-Won is standing with a gun pointed at Sang-chul's head with a shocked and tied up Hyunsoo in front of her. Chae-Won, you knew?" Chae-Won doesn't answer him. Instead, she forces Sang-chul to his knees and she puts her gun away so that she can handcuff him. And she gets around one handcuff on him before Sang-chul turns around and pushes Chae-Won onto the table and starts punching her in the stomach. Hyun-soo starts struggling 300% harder seeing this, and he struggles so much that the bolts of the dresser handle that he was tied to breaks off. He releases his hands and punches the living daylights out of Sang and starts choking him when Chae-Won pulls him back. Stop it! Stop it! You have no time for this! They probably got a search warrant for Sang-cheol's house and office and store by now. The cops will be here pretty soon. Get up! You can't go home. Detective Trey found evidence to prove that you're Hyun-soo. He's going to arrest you tomorrow. Now go, run away as far as you can. Don't you get it? Leave, run away, go to a place where even I can't find you, and don't ever come back. You're good at running away and hiding. Do you really want to rot in prison forever on behalf of your sister? Go, leave, get out of here. She's shoving him in the chest while crying her eyes out, and Hyun-soo slowly starts taking steps backwards before turning around and leaving the room. And at the same time, downstairs, the police have arrived just in time to save Mujin. Mujin takes a second to breathe before he remembers Hyun-soo, and he rushes up to the room but freezes when he sees Chae-Won there instead. Oh, Detective Cha, I was here to gather information on an article. She shoots him a look like, I know you're lying, and then updates her colleagues via walkie-talkie. This is Detective Chae-Won from the Gangsu police station. I'm calling to ask for backup. Hyun-soo is driving on the highway thinking about everything that's happened in the past couple of weeks, and he understands. He gets why Chae-Won wanted a divorce, why she didn't love him anymore, why she wants to move to the countryside. He pulls over and he tries to call her. He calls her once, gets ignored. Calls again, gets ignored. Calls again, and gets ignored. And he is losing his mind. They cannot end like this. He calls again, and while he's waiting, a taxi stops in front of his car. Chae-Won gets out, she turns around and looks at him. Hyun-soo also gets out of his car, walks up to her with the most heartbroken look on his face. Chae-Won's eyes also start getting all glassy because all the tears are gathering in her eyes. Why are you doing this to me? Why? You can't live as Baek Sung anymore. Your identity got exposed. You need to run away. I told you I'll help you run away. What more do you want from me? What more do I need to do for you? Why, Chae-Won? You knew everything. Why didn't you leave me even though you knew everything? I just don't get it. Do you really not understand? Do you really not know why I tried so hard to protect you even though I knew your identity? And Hyun-soo starts pulling. I'm sorry, Chae-Won. I was wrong. I've hurt you, and I've only caused you pain. Why did you do it if you knew everything? Chae-Won pulls him into a hug and says that was all she could do. And Hyun-soo, after calming down, says that he wants to go home. Okay, let's go home. Let's go home, and whatever happens, let's start over from there. Back at the Baek's not-so-humble abode, the dad tells Haesoo, I'll look into it, but don't get your hopes up. It was 20 years ago. I don't even know if we still have those documents on the volunteers. Among the documents that I gave you are the notes from those who were selected as volunteers. They had to submit many different forms of documentation. Of course, I'll read through them in detail. I am so relieved that I can count on you. Thank you very much. No, not at all. Our relationship with Hyun-soo is one that is unavoidable even if we try. Thank you again. I'll get going now. She gets her bag, stands up, turns around, and Hee-sung, who is still biting his nails, closes his door when he realizes that Haesoo is getting up, and Haesoo is about to exit when the mom calls out. Wait, Haesoo, when you met the accomplice, was there anything about him that stood out? Anything that you know that may help my husband find him? Hee-sung, while biting his nails, strains his ears to hear what she's saying. I don't think there was anything unique about his face, but his fingernails on his left hand were significantly shorter, as if he has like a habit of chewing on his left fingers. And from inside the room, Hee-sung stops biting his nails. He looks at his left hand fingernails and his right hand fingernails, comparing them, and the right hand is in pristine condition with nice, healthy nails, and his left hand fingernails look like they are uncomfortably short. All of his fingernails on his left hand are so incredibly trimmed that it looks like some of them are even bleeding. And we see Hee-sung 18 years ago writing the phone number on Haesoo's arm, making the threatening call from inside the bar, shoving Min-seok into his car, handing Min-seok's coat back to him that day that Hyun-soo was with him. It was all Hee-sung. Meanwhile, Sang-chul is at the hospital getting treated for all of his cuts and bruises, and there's only one person who is guarding him, and when the guard turns to his side, Sang-chul sees the keys to his handcuffs dangling near the guard's chest. The guard tells Sang-chul to get up, and Sang-chul tries, and his legs give out underneath him. He asks the cop to help him up, and when the cop gets close enough, Sang-chul puts his arm around the officer's neck and he strangles him until he's unconscious before getting the keys and unlocking his handcuffs and running away. He stops under a bridge where other homeless people were sleeping, and he pulls out the brown envelope from his back pocket. He looks through the photos, and in those is the photos of Hee-sung sitting in his wheelchair in the Beck house backyard. He has one more chance. Hyunsoo and Chae-Won make it back home, where Chae-Won is consoling Hyunsoo. They're both crying, hugging, and kissing each other. Hee-sung's mom and dad are currently gathered in Hee-sung's room, with Hee-sung there as well. Once again, he is biting his nails, and the mom goes off. "What will you do?" "Calm down, nothing has happened yet. Even if you don't get her that list, she'll find it somehow." "I said to calm down. There's no evidence to prove that the man she saw was To Min-seok's accomplice. It's just what she claims." "What if Hyunsoo finds out? He won't let this slide. He won't let our son go free." "I've already taken care of Hyunsoo." And at this, Hee-sung stops biting his nails for a second. The dad looks at Hee-sung, gives him a bombastic side-eye, and Hee-sung goes back to biting his nails. "Take your hand out of your mouth, Hee-sung. Stop biting your nails. How many times have I told you to cut that damn habit?" When Hee-sung doesn't stop, the dad's temper rises even more. "What on earth is the matter with you?" And he slaps his son across the face. The mom immediately jumps to her son's defense. "Don't hit him. Just don't lay a finger on him. Can't you see that hitting him isn't the solution?" "Mom, why did it have to be Hyunsoo who I ran over that day?" And we get to hear the other side of the phone conversation that Hee-sung was having when he ran over Hyunsoo. He was talking to Sang-chul about a woman who Sang-chul says doesn't remember Hee-sung. Back in the room, Hee-sung is breaking down. Even after passing, To Min-seok won't let me be. He's using his son now to get rid of me. He's more than capable of that. All I did was do as Min-seok said. He threatened to kill you and Dad if I didn't. I was terrified. I didn't want to do any of it. I really didn't. Please believe me. Dad, Mom, you have to protect me. You'll protect me, right? And then we see a young boy, a 10-year-old Hyunsoo, running through a forest, and he looks rather lost. He doesn't know where he's going, he's just running. He stops for a second to catch his breath and is about to start running again when Min-seok catches his hood. "Found you. Hyunsoo, listen carefully. You could die if you lose your way out here, because over that hill is a cliff." And that was Hyunsoo's earliest memory. Him and Chae-Won have cleaned up and are now sitting on their bed, where Hyunsoo is telling Chae-Won everything about his past. "I was 10, so I don't recall much about anything that happened before that." "Don't you even remember why you were wandering through the woods?" "I don't. It was as if I was lost in a deep, dark maze, but then I felt relieved to be rescued by my father. That's all I really remember." Chae-Won's eyes fall on Hyunsoo's wrist, where he still has her tracker watch on. "Why are you still wearing that?" "Knowing that you'll be aware of where I am makes me feel good." "You're weird, you know that?" "To what extent did you actually end up following me?" "I was at the abandoned building when you met your sister, and you said you never loved me for a single second in your life. I don't even remember how I got home after hearing you say that." Hearing this, Hyunsoo starts crying again. "Why are you crying again, Hyunsoo?" I don't know." "I do, because you love me. You've always wished for me to be happy." "Chae-Won, that's because I had to deceive you." "Hyunsoo, when I was studying for the academy, I'd leave the library late at night only to see you waiting for me outside. That's when I felt that you truly cared about me. When my dad suddenly passed away, it was as if darkness had painted my life. I was anxious all the time and angry at the world. Almost everything made me cry, but unlike everyone else, you never pressed me to get better or give out any advice. You just learned how to cook instead, and you made me food. It was all delicious, and that's how I got better again. You love me. I can feel it." Hyunsoo takes her hand and kisses it. "I love you. I love you, Chae-Won." He accepted the fact real fast, but anyway, Chae-Won tells him all about what might happen tomorrow. Tomorrow, people are going to start judging you and define you by their own rules and standards. Just never forget that there's warmth inside of you. You're even weirder than I am, you know that? Chae-Won smiles and asks him what came next in his life, and Hyun-soo tells her about the time that he got a part-time job delivering for the Chinese restaurant, and during that time he got to know Namsun-gi from the shoe repair shop. But Chae-Won is more curious about when she appears in his life. He tells her to be patient, that he needs to live through 2 more near-death experiences before he gets to Chae-Won, and Chae-Won is the hardest thing in his life to explain. It's unrealistic and absurd that someone like Chae-Won came into his life. The next morning, Detective Choi pulls up to Chae-Won's house and he gets out of his car, puts his hands in his pocket, and stares at the house. Moojin, in the meantime, is getting an earful from Hae-soo, who is standing in front of his apartment door. Why didn't you answer my calls? You need to tell me what happened last night. You know that I can't call Hyun-soo. How could you not even text me? My cell phone broke. Wait, what's wrong with your face? Took you long enough to notice. Let's talk inside. Moojin heads inside and Hae-soo follows after him, asking about Hyun-soo. What about Hyun-soo? Is he okay? I don't know. What do you mean? How could you not know? Detective Cha knows everything. I don't know anything anymore. I don't know what happened to Hyun-soo or what will happen to him right now. Hyun-soo right now is peacefully sleeping while Chae-Won is talking to Detective Choi over the phone. Do me a favor. Don't put handcuffs on him and take him as quietly as possible. I'll bring him out in 30 minutes, okay? Thank you. She cuts the call, and that's when Hyun-soo opens his eyes. Detective Choi is waiting outside in front of our house. They both get ready and head out to meet Detective Choi hand in hand, who looks at them unimpressed. And that will be all for today. Let me know your thoughts on how the whole thing is progressing so far. I think the casting for the real Hee-sung and Min-seok was done really well. Like, they know how to act normal when needed, but also act so freaking creepy when needed. Like, in the beginning, when Hee-sung was sad that he basically lost his life to Hyun-soo, you genuinely feel sad for the man because his entire life just got taken away from him. But the moment he starts biting his nails, you're like, what the fork? Or at least the first time I watched this, I was like, what the fork? The second time, you start to notice all the little details that they planted beforehand, and you're like, oh shit. It's actually a really good rewatch as well. Also, I think it's not hard to see why Hee-sung ended up the way he did. The parents are pretty unhinged themselves, and I think it'll be interesting to see how they either knowingly or unknowingly turned him into a serial killer. I know that the romance between Chae-Won and Hyun-soo is getting a little bit cheesy at this point, but I hope you can look past it because the plot is just that good. Anyway, that'll be it, and I will see you all next time. Bye!